Welcome to Everything Co-op, bringing you information on how cooperatives can help improve your quality of life. This show is being sponsored by the National Co-op Bank, NCB. The NCB is dedicated to strengthening communities nationwide for the delivery of banking and financial services for the nation's cooperatives, their members, and other socially responsible organizations. For more information on the power of community ownership, visit ncb.coop. That's ncb.coop. Now stay tuned for your host, Vernon Oakes.
Good morning, everybody. This is Vernon Oakes. Welcome to Everything Cooperative this Thursday morning. It's raining here in D.C. The farmers need rain to get their crops to grow, so we praise God for rain. And we have a farmer with us today, Mr. Ben Burkett out of Mississippi. Good morning, Ben.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, sir.
How are you this morning?
I'm doing very well.
I understand that farmers get up at 5 o'clock and hit the field, so this is like afternoon for you, isn't it?
It's 5 o'clock every day, 7 days a week.
Okay. So how long you been farming?
I had to sit and I've been farming on my own for 43 years. But I've been involved in area farming all my life. But I actually started farming in 1973. My father financed my crop. In 74, I was on my own. Your
father financed your crop?
Right, that's the way it usually goes. So you want to start farming, and the first year your father, somebody in your family, go to the bank and sign for you to get the money you need. They do it 1 year. So now my daughter's taking over, so I'll start off 1 year. Then you're on your own.
So did you farm on your father's land, or you got your own land to farm on?
I was farming on my father's land. But he financed for my seeds and my fertilizer and my chemicals and labor and everything I needed for that year.
So you had to know how to budget so you can figure out, okay, if I'm going to farm an acre or 5 acres or whatever, I need this amount of money. Take that to the bank and say, I need to borrow this kind of money, and then your father co-signs for you. Co-sign for you. Well, that's a great way of...
In 1978, I got a USDA loan.
Okay. Well,
which was, discrimination because I had one of those loans that... Well, I had the type of loan they called the lawsuit. The one they called a supervisor account. I couldn't write my own checks.
Well, they gave you a loan, but they wrote your checks?
Right. If I wanted to buy $1,000 worth of fertilizer, I had to go to the office. They had to sign the check, and I had to take it back to the co-op store. Supervisor account, they said.
Well, that seemed like, okay, they don't trust you to be able to spend your own money.
The hell of your own business.
Right on. And that created a suit? You were able to sue them?
Like former lawsuit. Pickford versus USDA in 96. Class action lawsuit with black farmers. Yes, it did. It was thousands of farmers. The research showed they was only doing black farmers like that.
Okay. So this discrimination shows up in all kinds of different ways.
Yes, it does.
So I always thought that suit was because they wouldn't let black farmers get the loan. But they would let you have the loan.
And even after you got the loan, it was still managed.
Wow. That is terrible. But I want to go all the way back to your father was a farmer. He had the land. Oh, his father was a farmer too?
Right. Same name, Ben Burkett.
Wow. You got a history. So how far back, what year did your grandfather? Yeah, your grandfather start farming.
On my mother's side, my mother's grandfather, which had been my great-grandfather, got a homestead in 1889, 164 acres from the United States government. And
1889.
Then, 1889. There were quite a few African-American families in South Mississippi received land patent, they call it, original deed from the United States government, basically giving that land to them because it was opened up for settlement in the 80s and 90s. So many
1880s and 1890s. Okay.
1880s and 1890s. I seen one as late as 1896. The Dansler family, they got a homestead. So it was at one time in this community, African Americans had 3,000 acres.
How many do they have now?
I would say about maybe half of that.
Okay.
Not quite 2,000. A lot of it was lost, discrimination. Some of it was sold. Some left and went to Chicago and just left the land.
All right, so in 1889, where was that in relationship to the Civil War?
I've seen some as early as 1882, so about 20, 25 years after the Civil War. So they were fortunate enough to have someone that could read and write to do the documentation, to file the necessary paperwork in Jackson and in Washington, D.C. I haven't been able to really research to see who that was, but somebody had to know how to read and write to, continue to do the legal process. And I have the original, in my family, I have the original document itself on parchment paper.
You had the original deed to go back to 1889, which gave your family the 189 acres.
Right, I got the original document right here in this house. Yes, sir.
Wow. That's a real interesting history. So some black folks did get their 40 acres in a mule. Y'all got 164.
That's what I always said.
I didn't know that. I just thought it was an idle promise, but it was through the homestead.
Through the homestead, yes, sir. And so I was in a co-op training several years ago, and it showed that families that had that type of asset that early was able to build wealth a little quicker than other African-American families. And that is, in my case, that is true. So the farm went from 164 now is 320 acres. Every generation added some acreage.
So with getting ownership of land, and then your family passed it down. You all stayed on the farm. You didn't sell the farm. You passed it on, and then so generation after generation could build some wealth. Where most black families don't build wealth. Matter of fact, they may have a negative wealth.
And I contribute directly to the land and good management of, taking care of the resources that you have. And that's my generation. Well, the generation even before me was able to went to college off of that land, basically from cotton production, growing. That was the money crop up into the 80s.
Wait a minute. You went to college? You don't have to be a farmer to be a farmer. You don't have to go to college, do you? I just thought you got out there and got behind your horse and plowed.
I don't think so. I attended Alcorn State University in 1969 to 72 when I graduated. I was going to leave the state of Mississippi and go to Chicago like everybody else. But my father got sick in 1973. So my mother asked me to come help with that crop. And I've been here ever since.
So what did you major in Alcorn State?
Agriculture. Yeah, I got agriculture with an emphasis on economics. It was a good experience. I was able to go all 4 years. Well, what happened in 1968, they integrated the livestock show. So me and another African boy at the time. We were the first two to show in the integrated livestock show, and I had a purebred Angus heifer that I sold in that show for $1,600. And then it called for $400 or something else to go to Alcorn and stay on campus. So I had about 2 years or better when I went off of the farm.
Well, when I went to Bluefield State College in 1966, it was $550 a semester. So we're about in the same world.
Yeah. I just want to say it's been a real good experience, being on the farm and being involved in the cooperative movement. And I just count up sometimes how many cooperatives I belong to here. The electric cooperative, the water cooperative, the livestock sale cooperative, the production, the marketing cooperative, so the credit union. At least our water association does a cooperative, Rural Water Association.
What about where you got marketing? What about a purchasing co-op? Do you buy your grain and everything through a purchasing co-op?
We buy our seed and fertilizer. We never had a marketing co-op for the grain. They always been the big companies, Cargill or Archidale Midland or Continental Grain. We never had it's some in other parts of Mississippi, but we never had one in South Mississippi. I'm in South Mississippi, down close to New Orleans, Mobile. We had a timber cooperative one time, but it disbanded. United Woodcutters. All farmers laugh at one time or another. Many of the big companies like Sunkiss and Land O'Lakes, all of those are cooperative, which we, meet with every now and then. We support one another.
So what I get is that I just counted 5 co-ops: electric, water, livestock, marketing, credit union. And you used to be in a timber co-op. So that's 5 co-ops that you belong to. And then you also do work with other co-ops like Sunkist and Land O'Lakes. Mm-hmm. So there's the 6th principle of cooperation among co-ops.
Right. Mm-hmm. Absolutely right.
So why is co-op so important?
I go just say my in the Spring Farm Association is a marketing person cooperative. It's over 40 years old, and it got started in 1977, 78 because of discrimination. There used to be buyers coming in this area that would buy produce from small farmers, like the watermelon, the peppers, and the cucumbers, and everything. Well, somehow or another, the black farmers found out that they were paying the white farmer one price and black farmers another price. So what they decided to do, the 8 original members said, well, the best thing for us to do is see, can we just take our produce straight to Chicago ourselves? So they put their money together and bought a 24-foot tandem refrigerated truck. And the co-op started off with 8 members. Well, it went up as high as 56 members. Now we got 34 members. So that's how it got started.
So the buyers were paying the black farmers less, perhaps a lot less than they paid a white farmer for the same watermelon.
Right. Same watermelon, same peas, same oak. So they decided to say, well, we just start hauling our own.
So you by yourself as a farmer could not afford to ship your products to Chicago, but as 8 farmers came together, you could afford to buy the truck and you'd have enough to fill that truck and take it up.
1,000 boxes.
Okay.
Right.
Mr. Burkett, we're going to take our first break here. This is very, very interesting. 4 or 5 generations of farmers. We'll be right back. Please don't touch that dial.
Your news talk station.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Vernon Oaks, and the program is Everything Cooperative. We have Mr. Ben Burkett as our guest today. He's out of Petal, Mississippi, which is close to the Louisiana border. He's South Mississippi. He's a farmer, been a farmer all of his life. His grandfather was a farmer. His great-grandfather on his mother's side, they've been farming since 1889. That's 24 years after the end of the Civil War. They got a 164 acres homestead, which has helped his family to build wealth throughout the years, generation from generation. And Ben, why that's so important to me is that the average white family in the U.S. today has a net worth of $171,000, and the average black family has a net worth of $17,000. And to be a farmer in your community in the Mississippi, never thought about this because I always thought that the folks in the South black folks were in really bad shape. But those ones that were able to get land have been able to increase their net worth. So that I would imagine that 320 acres in your family is worth a whole lot more than $17,000, plus the equipment you all have, whatever money you've been able to save, whatever other things you've been investing in, whatever equipment you have. So your net worth is a whole lot more than $17,000. That's the average of black families. Yep.
Absolutely. I would agree with you. The average price of land here is farmland is $5,100 an acre. So if you do the math, you see how much the land worth itself.
Well, doing the math, it's taking it by $5,000. That's $1.6 million, just the land by itself. All right, and the other thing that I found you interesting that you said that I really want to get to young people out there. You said it's not only owning the land or being inherited this land from your father, who inherited from his grandfather, and on your mother's side, your great-grandfather, but you had to learn how to manage it. So you needed good management and you needed an education so that you know how to manage it. And you went to Alcorn State for 4 years, graduated with an agriculture and economics degree. So the economics was how do you manage money? What do you take care of that? And agriculture was how do you farm and know how to plant and when to plant and what to do and how to make sure the rabbits don't eat your stuff and whatever stuff that come and try to take over your
the deers and the turkeys and the armadillos and everything. And
so
you have to be able to adapt, because I started off at growing cotton. The university taught me that I could go back home and just grow one crop, cotton, and make a good living. That lasted for 3 or 4 years, and the cotton market went bad. Then we grew soybean, grew wheat, we grew corn. But we always grew vegetables. We always had a market. We had a contract with Vlasic for pickles up in the 1995. Whenever they signed NAFTA, that's when we lost that contract. So we grew pickles on the contract. We had a contract with Tabasco for long red cayenne. I'm planting 2,000 of them Monday morning. Peppers, the kind that make the Tabasco sauce out of. We had contracts for peas and butter beans. We don't have none of that now. I contributed to NAFTA, but I might be wrong. Mm-hmm. So now we have to rely totally on the fresh market, like the restaurants and the stores. And with the restaurants closed in New Orleans, Mobile, because of the virus, we in limbo now. We got a crop almost ready to harvest in 2.5 weeks, and we really don't know where it's going to go. So that's some of the things you have to contemplate in farming, Even with the best of plans, two factors always come in play, and that's weather and the marketplace, because it fluctuates. So in the last 10 years, I would say, as a farmer, you have to really deal with that.
So I want to talk about two things now. I want to talk about the co-op. You belong to 5. You belong to several others, and then you work even with others. So I would imagine the whole time, your whole life you've been in farming, you've been in co-ops. Is that a true statement?
I was, ever since I was 25, so that's been
okay.
Almost, well over, right at 50 years almost. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
So
and
you've
my
been in
co-op, Spring Farmers Association, became a member of the Federation Southern Cooperative in 1981.
Okay, let's talk about these co-ops. What is Spring Farmers Co-op?
That's a marketing and production cooperative. Like I said, we got 34 members now. And we you go there you go to the co-op and purchase your input, your seed, fertilizer, and chemicals. Then when you make your crop, you bring it back. Then the co-op market it for you. Then as a farmer, I got to get it to the co-op warehouse, and the co-op responsibility is to find a market for it. And we have sold produce as far as way as Canada. So Chicago, Boston, lived in New York. In the last 5 years, been more New Orleans, Memphis, Mobile, local, regional, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And so the co-op have refrigerated trucks, cold storage, packaging. We can even value it. We can process it. We can shell the peas and put them in 1 pound bag. We cut the squash and cucumbers up in 5 pound bags, mostly for food service. And the food service industry, they down over 50%. So this virus is really, we depended on the government to bail us farmers out too, at the same like they did everybody else. So this round, a farmer can actually apply for the covert relief through their local bank. But many of our farmers don't keep adequate documentation, so we're going to have to work with those farmers to make sure they get their application in the next week or so, which we are doing now. So the cooperative got a place, in this community.
Okay, so there are 4 types of co-ops. If the co-op is owned and controlled by the employees, it's called a worker co-op. If the co-op is owned and controlled by the people that uses the product or service, it's called a consumer co-op. And the consumer co-ops that you talked about are your electric co-op, your water co-op. Those are consumer co-ops. And then if the other one's a credit union. Then if the co-op is, like a farmers use a lot, is a purchasing co-op where you buy the seed and fertilizer and sometimes equipment, is called a purchasing co-op. And then if it's a marketing co-op, then it takes the products, like you said, Indian Springs Cooperative does, and it will add value to it by packaging it and storing it, transporting it. You take it to the co-op. You're responsible for the transportation to get it to the co-op, and then the co-op is responsible for transporting it to whatever market, whether that's south in New Orleans or north to Chicago. So that's how the co-ops function, where you as an individual farmer couldn't get it to all of these different markets. And you are a member of 5 co-ops.
I wouldn't have the volume to load a 18-wheeler. Most of the time, we have to have 3 or 4 farmers to come up with that amount of product.
So that's how the co-ops work, and we're going to take our second break here and come back, and I wanted to talk about, when you say we help the farmers with the finance, getting this financial stuff, who's that we? I assume that's the Federation of Southern Co-ops, so I'd like for you to talk about that umbrella organization, and we'll be right back.
Your news talk station.
Welcome back, everybody. The program is Everything Cooperative, and I'm Vernon Oakes, the host of the show, and we have Mr. Ben Burkett on the line with us from Mississippi, who's a farmer, 4th-generation farmer. His daughter's in farming, and that's a 5th generation. The National Co-op Bank sponsors this program. NCB's mission is to support and be an advocate for America's cooperatives and their members, especially in low-income communities, by providing innovative financial and related services. The National Cooperative Bank is the only bank dedicated to delivering nationwide banking products and solutions to cooperatives and member-owned organizations to help communities thrive. So that's one of the things NCB does, Ben, and we were talking about the Federation of Southern Co-ops right before the break. So the Indian Springs Cooperative became a member of the Federation of Southern Co-ops. So let me just shout out to Cornelius Blandy and the folks at Federation of Southern Co-ops, and I had the absolute pleasure of meeting Ralph Page and interviewed him a couple times. Matter of fact, the first Thanksgiving that we had 5.5 years ago, he came on the show Thanksgiving morning. He said his wife allowed him to come on the show first before they ate dinner that evening. So just a great human being. I was glad to meet him before he passed on.
Yes, he was. He helped a lot of people, including in the Spring Farmer Association when we were getting ready to build our current warehouse.
So what was the reason for forming Federation of Southern Co-ops, and why did Indian Springs join them?
See, the reason of forming the Federation was so that all us grassroots cooperatives could basically speak as one voice. And we have membership from Texas to South Carolina. We have some members in virtually every southern state. So we are organized into the Federation of Southern Cooperative. Then you have the state association. Like here we had the Mississippi Association of Cooperative, the Alabama State Association, Texas Association, Georgia State Association. So here in Mississippi, we have 22 cooperative members that's members of the Federation here in the state of Mississippi. And the Federation maintains an office in Jackson, Mississippi, and a 9-person staff scattered all over the state that help farmers and credit unions. And when I say we, I'm a part of that staff. So in the last 4 weeks, we've been taking surveys of our membership. What's the impact of this virus on our cooperatives that have physical places, and the impact on individual farmers. So we'll get all that, compile all that information. Tomorrow is our deadline to get it all to our Atlanta office, and then Mr. Bland and his staff will seek whatever support out there for us as small farmers. You know, farming is a 24-hour-a-day job. If you're really farming, you really don't have the time. And I'm speaking about myself. Because of this way it is now, everything is on the computer. They got conference calls, they got Zoom, they got FaceTime. And where I'm at, we don't have fast-speed internet. So if we want to be on Zoom, it usually don't work because our internet is so slow and it draws down so much energy when you're on the net. So we usually have to be on the computer and the phone to be on a call. And then we rely on the staff of the Federation to keep us informed of how we can apply for the relief and help us step by step on filling out those documents. The staff person assigned to us out in this area, Mr. Barnes, is out today, going from farm to farm with his laptop. And sometimes he have to write it on paper, then he go back over in the town of Hattiesburg, where they got the faster internet, then he uploaded. But the school put some temporary, I don't know, they parked a bus out here at the church, and that church supposed to send out internet over this community. But it ain't working too well. So that's one of the major problems, the technology. But even I'm fairly good on the computer, but most of our farmers have never touched a computer in their life. That's where we come in, at the type of assistance that we get from the Federation and State Association, and many other, groups that out trying to help African-American farmers, small farmers, because the USDA office is closed. So I had to turn in some documents on my call share. I went to the office closed, but I had to make an appointment at a certain time, and one of the staff from USDA would be there, meet me outside in the parking lot, pick up the paperwork. So it's for real. Mm-hmm. We got to cope with it. We got to learn how to adapt and continue on in order to stay in the business.
So what I'm hearing you say is that the individual farmer, particularly smaller farmer, but maybe all farmers, if you're an individual farmer, you don't have the bandwidth, you don't have the resources to do everything you need. You've got to buy stuff, you got to plant it and harvest it or grow stuff, and then you've got to sell it. You got this whole process. It's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job, and you can't do it all. So you create these businesses that help you to buy stuff, and Indian Springs does that for you. And then you create a business to help you to sell stuff. That gets part of that off your back to do. You have staff to help you do that. So you create co-ops, working together as groups of farmers. You create a co-op to help you get done so you can survive and minimize your risk. You already got the risk of the weather and the market. And so to get rid of some of the risk of production and selling, promoting, you create these co-ops. Then Indian Springs joins the Federation, which is an umbrella of co-ops that are state by state. So you got 34 co-ops in Indian Springs and 22 co-ops in Mississippi that belong to the Federation. Right. So then the Federation has a bigger voice. They have staff that goes out and helps to pull information, to give you information and then get information from you to take to the federal government or wherever they have to do to advocate for you to get your loans or get equipment or get knowledge. And I know the Federation has training because I've been to a couple of your annual meetings in Birmingham and Epps, Alabama. So you work together as a group. That gives you data. That gives you power as a group. You pass information back and forth. And from what I gather in those conferences, you get friends. You get community.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I got farmers in Georgia. We talk at least 2 or 3 times a week. I got one in Texas that I have met through the Federation annual meeting in August. And I can gauge the market by talking with them in Georgia and Florida because they crops are 2 weeks earlier than our crop. So if I know what's going on over there, I know how to market on this end. What's the price range? I'd stay in contact. You're absolutely right about it. By us being members like that and meeting people from Carolinas and Missouri, it's just a wonderful relationship. And we learn how to network and work it together. We have loaded the truck here with produce, and the farmers in Kentucky would call and say they had 10,000 pounds of cabbages. And when we get to Marion, Illinois, they would meet us there and put their cabbage on our truck. Then we going on into Chicago.
Well, that's really working together.
And that's one of our white co-op members too in the Ozark Mountains. You know, we have white co-op members, Native Americans, Hispanic. And one thing about the Federation, we have cotton farmer, rice farmer, vegetable farmer, cattle farmer, tobacco farmer. The Federation is diverse, and sometimes we have some real discussion. I know when the tobacco settlement came along, and many of the Federation farmers were tobacco farmers, so we had a big discussion on, well, we're going to support it or not support it. Some of the, that was some of the best crops you could grow at the time for income for a small farmer. So I remember that well from the meeting. We got it very heated.
I get that. And here's what I'm hearing you say, sir. I mean, one of the reasons I like this co-op motto, and I learned about it through housing co-ops, was another form of a consumer co-op. But it's the first one was that I really like was this 5th principle of education, that you end up training each other and giving each information. Like I said, Federation gets information from you and then gives information to you, and there's always this training going on. And then the other one, which you just talked about, is volunteer and open membership. It doesn't make any difference what your gender is, where your social background, your political, your racial, religious. There's none of those kinds of things that we've seen in America. That discrimination doesn't happen in co-op. If it's a true co-op and operating as a co-op, as the Federation does, and Indian Springs does, it'll take white members, black members. The focus have been on smaller black farmers because of the discrimination both in the U.S. government and discrimination with the buyers in the U.S., just being black in America. But it doesn't, what I have found out growing up in West Virginia, Ben, I assume you found this out too, poverty does not discriminate. It don't care if you're white, black, pink, green, or orange. It just doesn't discriminate. It messes up you just the same.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And in this part of Mississippi where I'm at, there's no big farm. So we were forced to work together, black farmers and white farmers. 3 of my neighbors are white farmers. on three sides of my property. And they the third and fourth generation like I am too. But we always have worked together in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s too. 'Cause my neighbor got a piece of equipment I need to borrow. I don't even have to tell him. I just go hook up here, come use it, and come back. Then I tell him I borrowed it today, and I bought it back. And in the spring, I forgot to mention the 8 original members. It was a white farmer in the 8 original, and we have 6 members now. So we always have been, But that need, you said the word, when you poor, trying to make it, you tend to work together regardless.
Have to.
So
it's the other couple of things about the principles. You have to have autonomy and independence. You have to own and control it, and it's one member, one vote. Doesn't make any difference how much wealth you have or what color you are. Any of that is one member, one vote.
One vote. And when my local cooperative, we set up you have to buy one share of stock worth $200, become a member, at care vote. But you can buy, some of our members got 5 or 6 shares, but on one share care vote.
Okay.
So
one member, one vote.
We learn how to work together. It works in places, and it's not unique to here. It's all over the South, And it's more cooperative being formed. I had a gentleman call me a few days ago about they want to start a buying co-op in Biloxi, Mississippi. They seeing now that they need to be able to purchase their food in bulk and distribute it out in the...
We got to take our final break. I'm sorry, I was trying to get that in there. We'll be right back because I want to get to coronavirus. We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
Your news talk station.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Vernon Oaks, and the program is Everything Cooperative. Mr. Ben Burkett, who's a farmer in Mississippi. He also works with the Federation of Southern Co-ops to help other farmers. Ben, we've talked about to be a farmer, there's a lot of risk, whether predatory, whether a rabbit or deer or anything else. Then you have the risk of price, what you buy stuff from and what you sell stuff to and how you get it to markets. And then you have to be able to adapt, no matter, there's all kinds of reasons to adapt. At one point you had cotton, then you had to go to soybean, cotton market goes out. So you have all of these different risks, and the risk right now is coronavirus. So what are you finding out, I guess, through your work with the Federation, both as a farmer? What is this coronavirus did? You said that the markets are not there. The Louisiana restaurant markets have gone down maybe 50%. So what are the kinds of things that the co-ops, Indian Springs Federation, other co-ops are to overcome this coronavirus?
This has started real bad in the city of New Orleans, which is one of our major marketing areas. We had 6 restaurants, 3 stores, and 4 farmers markets all closed. So we technically lost most of our markets. But it happened at a fairly good time because we was in between crops. Our leafy green season was over with, and our spring vegetables, squash, cucumbers, and okra and they were not quite ready, but they will be ready in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks at the most. And we started talking with buyers, but nobody is buying. So one big thing is the impact on the marketplace. We have decreased market for what we produce. And the other one is like when you have a co-op facility, your costs of doing business continue without any sales. The light bill, the water bill, the insurance, upkeep, all of that study got to be paid, but you're not selling anything. So that's putting a hardship on the cooperative itself. Labor and things, you can kind of lay people off, but you don't want to, but you don't have no other choice, or you can't pay them. So that's another layer. And then navigating the system of how to apply to receive the relief is another. That's what we need a system again, because like I first stated too, everything is being done on the computer. We'll go to the office, sit down with individuals, fill out the paperwork. So, and many of our farmers, and I put myself in that category, it's just not that good on the computer. So we have to rely upon, in my case, on my daughter and granddaughter, and staff person from the Federation to come around and help us fill out the necessary paperwork, upload it in a computer where we can get it in on time. I know I'm working with bank course out here in Mississippi to get my documentation in. It's been a tedious process. And then we have to make sure that on the other end, we're trying to become a distributor since we have the co-op warehouse, and we don't have nothing in there where we can, if people want to donate food items, since we have the storage capacity, we want to be a part of that. So we can, if somebody want to donate us some potatoes or whatever, we got a place to store it, repackage, and get it out to the people that need it, which we are doing a little of that now. We have some products at the co-op now. So that's some of the situations we're in. And definitely in the future, for the rest of the year, the plant or don't plant. Well, as usually in most cases, you're going to have to plant, raise some animals, because you got to have some income to pay your bill. So it's really that's not a big decision to make. That you're going to try to have some market for it, but you just about got to continue to produce. I listened to NPR earlier this morning about the hog farmers. It's the processing places. They're not processing, but the hogs are ready to be processed. So now they finna just kill some hogs. This one farmer said he have 320 head every week that need to go to the slaughterhouse. He 2 weeks behind. So if it don't get come by Monday, Tuesday, it's going to euthanize, the word they use. So that's the situation a farmer in, You have to look at the options and continue. But it's for real, the situation we're in.
So I got for the farmer, the difficulty is that your stores, you just named 6 restaurants, 3 stores, and 4 farmers markets. They all closed down. So their market's closed. You've got stuff coming up. It's got to be harvested. You got to figure out what to do with that. Your bills, both your particular bill as a farmer and Indian Springs bills go up. Indian Springs has a facility that they use to refrigerate and process the material that you all sent to them, and all of those costs continue. You don't want to lay people off, but you may have to.
Right.
And then you've got to, if the government is going to give out bailout money, you've got to be able to apply for, do the paperwork, and that's the accounting, your profit and loss balance sheet, and all of that stuff, and how many employees you had, and what was your employee payroll, and all. You have to get all of that information, and that means that somebody's got to do that work. And the Federation, Indian Springs, is working with the farmers in Mississippi. The Mississippi office of the Federation is working, and then the Federation is working. And then you have your daughter and granddaughter helping you with the computer. Okay.
Right.
Got it.
She's 5 years old.
Your granddaughter's 5. Oh, man.
I don't know how to turn it on, and I said, what is this?
All right, so you start her off very early on in the business. She's got to learn this business and start them off very early on.
And I told you the story with her and I was in the field getting some weeds out the field. She's 5 years old, and her mom had bought a toy. I thought it was a toy garden hoe, but it was a real garden hoe. So we got through walking out the field. I said, let me pay you. I paid her $5. And we walked a little further. He looked at me and said, let me pay you. She gave me a quarter.
My girl, she's a business person. Okay. Okay. She got $5 and gave you a quarter, and she has a real tool. She has a piece of equipment. She can go out and help you weed, a garden hoe.
It was a real. I thought it was a toy. but it was a real child garden hose made out of metal, just like a real. I thought I'd come in there and told my niece. But you know, we try to teach in the Federated 3 things: hold on to your land, work together, and always look to the future. And on advocates, you can always change things if you can get enough voices together. Like we try to change the law here in Mississippi as it relates to air property. And we tried to work on a federal level to change some of the policies that, you know, like here in Mississippi, you can't get a charter to have a housing cooperative. So we're trying to work with the state legislature to change the cooperative law here in the state of Mississippi. You can get all type charter for agriculture cooperatives. It's nowhere you can get a. You want to start a housing cooperative owned by the people that stay in the house. So we're working on both of those for the next couple of years to change the law.
All right, we only have a few minutes left. I'd like to get this question to you before we go off, and that is, what do you see the role of the cooperative after the pandemic? I mean, we get through it, we work through it, we work together, as you said. You hold on to the land, you work together, and you look toward the future. So, looking toward the future, what do you see the role of co-ops after pandemic?
I think cooperative is being reevaluated by everybody, from the healthcare industry to the workers-owned cooperative. This is a golden opportunity to see how cooperative can be a major player in every area of society. With healthcare, with food, with transportation. It's just so much that we can do together. And I think, like the gentleman I say called from Biloxi, they were looking at how they can co-op them and look to better serving their community as a food co-op. So I think since this pandemic and many people have been quarantined, such as myself, you have time to reevaluate that. A lot of things we thought we need, we don't need. A lot of things that we can do together. I look at I'm looking at somewhere on the television where the people were just, they couldn't go outside, so everybody would just come out on their balcony and just sing to each other and everything. So that's cooperation there. So I
Sir, we got to quit with that
opportunity for us to bring about a change.
All right, let's bring about a change and work together as a cooperative and look toward the future. Ben Burkett, thank you so very much. Everybody out there, have a wonderful week and live cooperatively.
Your news talk station.